What up?
Hey,
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good.
Let me get my
Yeah, this
no.
is like the highlight of my week because
My
I get
hair is
to
my favorite thing. I'm just
yeah I get to appear bigger, taller. So I'm taking it full advantage.
What
Uh,
are you doing?
I'm good. I can't complain. What about yourself?
Same. Cheers.
Cheers. I've got water today. I'm being haved because I know after I can tend to go. Yeah. So.
It's okay. I'm having some ginger tea, so you know.
Oh yeah, we're responsible adults right now. I I'm glad that you are here with me. I find out a lot about artists that I see frequently, but I don't have a chance to really get to talk to in depth. So it's fun for me because I'm a music history buff. So I
Yeah,
love music history documentaries. Like people know that about me. So this is kind of like playing documentary and in a way when I get to talk to people. So
it's
I
a real
wanted to.
thing. Thank you for having me today.
No problem. No problem. Let's start with Cleveland. Cleveland. Did you know I was from Cincinnati?
No clue.
Yeah, I'm from
No.
Cincinnati. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was
Cincinnati
like,
is beautiful. It's like what, Southern Ohio, but it's such a booming city in Ohio.
yeah, it is. It is. Um, I always I always used to wonder what it was like to grow up in Cleveland. When I used to run track, so when we would go to track meets, the bigger track meets, you'd see the high schools from different parts of Ohio. So
Yeah.
you could see like Dayton, schools from Dayton and schools from Cleveland and schools
Yeah.
from Youngstown. So I would be like, every time the Cleveland squads roll through track, the women who run track and do all that, they're beautiful anyway. But
I
the
ran
Cle
track. I did. I ran track in Nordonia and I ran like short distance. So I remember those meets being like so massive and like I was so terrified. I used to get shin splints, but I ran well in like short distance, 200, 400. And
okay.
it was just so, I mean, you know, those big ass schools like out in the middle of nowhere and they're just like all these amazingly talented athletes. So I remember those days.
What was it like from a music standpoint? I mean, Cleveland's got a rich history of music, so I'm sure like growing up, the dream of doing it big. I know growing up in Cincinnati, people would be like, the Isley brothers are from Cincinnati. I'd be like, all right. But what does that have to do with me? Can I make it because the
Yeah.
Isley brothers make it? But was it like that for you? Or, was it more so kind of straight laced and you kind of did music on behind the scenes?
Well, I'm originally from Oklahoma City. That's where I was born. And so my mom was born in the 50s. My dad was born in the late 40s. So the Gap Band being from Tulsa, that, you know, that was a very heavy influence on me. When my parents split up, I moved to Cleveland at like 5. So Cleveland isn't like they're not my roots.
Yeah,
But I had like crazy things happen when I was really young. And uh, writing was the way that I was able to articulate myself and speak again.
yes,
So so for me, it was like this God thing. Like it was like there's something that you're going to do with writing and writing poems and singing. When I discovered I could sing, and so it was just like a part of me. I still lived a normal life and that I ran track. I was an AP student. I was like trying to go to Spelman but that was always something I knew I was called to do.
gotcha.
You know, so Cleveland is like a small, um, I guess it had nothing to do with Cleveland, but my experiences there, like growing up in church and like the Kojic church and apostolic church where you like shed all night and you like are around the most talented artists and musicians and I was like a fly on the wall and I would shed and play with all the greatest I think in the city. And so I think that is the Cleveland part of it, but it was really like a God thing, for me, music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about influences. I always do my research, and I've seen Shaka Khan, I've seen Steve Perry, who one of the best voices, rock voices, but voices period.
Greatest of all.
Um, you also have listed your mom. as an influence. I would like to ask you about your mother as an influence, maybe from I know from a standpoint of growing up and becoming a good person, great
Yeah.
woman, but from a musical standpoint, where has she been able to inspire you?
We have a complex relationship, um, but I do think
Uh-oh, you there? Uh-oh, bear with me, guys. Possible minor technical difficulty.
hey.
Oh, hey, yes.
um, yeah. So can you see me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so she's from this small town called Cairo, Illinois, and it's a really small town. And but the civil rights movement was very heavy there. And so at her age, I think she told me Nina Simone came through. My grandparents had a cafe that was pretty popular, and so any like artists or activists who would come through the city would come to that restaurant. And so she was asked to sing for Nina Simone, and my grandmother said no, and my mom wasn't as rebellious as me. So so she had really great opportunities in life, but she chose air traffic control, and she's a mother, so she raised us. But I was the one who said, there's this amazing gift that we have, and I'm gonna see where God will, just take, me a bit further, and hopefully my kids, even further, So she had an influence. She had the gift. My grandmother could play the organ. All of this was like raw talent. They had no lessons or anything like that, and they made impact. And so I would say, using the gifts God gave me and like making impact and being like authentically, who I am is what I gathered and gained from my roots.
Okay. Was she, and some of this is information I already know, but um, when I was growing up, similar background, similar background. I actually was born in Louisiana, but moved to Ohio when I was around 8 or 9. So it's kind of like when people ask you where you're from, you're like, I'm really,
I'm not from anywhere.
yeah. So it's just like whatever y'all say.
Yeah.
But my dad is an attorney, and he's in the military, and he's from the deep South.
Yeah.
So his concept of success is the Booker T. Washington
Right.
success.
Yeah.
My concept of success is the W.E.B. Du Bois
Yeah.
concept, and we bumped heads a lot musically.
Yeah.
Do you think that the situation with your grandmother saying no to your mom singing, or any other maybe feelings about music, do you think that has played a role in her relationship with you as it relates to the support or lack thereof of
Yeah.
music?
Yeah, man. The thing about a call is you just either accept it or it skips, right? So there's a level of fearlessness that you have to have when you're called to something that just seems like unreal. It's like being a famous singer is like so like, it's such a big thing, or that your talent is so special that people will care, people will buy the music, and so yeah, if you do it and your mom doesn't or didn't,
Yeah.
I think just naturally there is like this thing of like, what if I did, or you accept it and say they took it, you know what I mean, and let's push them to the end, so yeah, maybe so. I can't speak for her.
Right, for
I
sure.
just speak for what I'm gonna do and what my goals are, and like I'm so spiritual about it. Like it's a calling. Like
Yeah.
influence is a calling.
Yeah,
Like why
for
do
sure.
you deserve it, and what do you have to say, and how is your music going to be impactful? And so I lead with that. I try not to worry about um, how that affects others, in that it is a positive thing I'm doing,
Yeah.
and I'll go as far as I see and manifest and God allows. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm biased towards you. Um, you know, other than you putting years in Ohio,
Yeah.
which, you know, you earned some stripes there. Um, Beyond that, can you hear me? Can you see me? Oh, beyond that, there's also a Spell House, the Spell House connection as
Yeah.
well. So I wanted to ask you, you said you were in AP classes. I know Spelman is a rigorous institution. I wanted to ask you about your matriculation process at Spelman because I read you were a theater major. Was that your major at the beginning? And how was that process? I always wondered what it would have been like to pursue the arts when I was at Morehouse, but I didn't, you know, so.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was like too much different from your experience because I would argue that like in the last couple of years is when like, you know, everyone knows that they can be an artist, quote unquote. So even when I was there, it was just like you're like an anomaly. Like, you know, initially I was a dual engineering major, Spanish minor. Like I love math and science, and I'm smart, you know. So go be a chemist or something. And there was this thing I've been writing since I was 8. Like there's a voice that is so much bigger than like being confined to a particular like job. And I decided to embark on that, you know. So eventually I was like, well, I don't know how to play, you know, I don't play the piano. I was in Glee Club a little bit, and then I was kind of like, this isn't really my vibe. But theater is something where it is like a performing art, and so even if you're a singer, you need to understand the stage, and you need to understand, you know, emotion, and so I thought it was like a really good balance as a singer and writer who is an initial like writer of pop music. You know, that wasn't something too at school where you had like popular music writing classes. It's more classical and more, you know, like a traditional route, which I appreciate, and I learned so much from Glee Club. But where I was, my brain was wild. It was like 80s, it was 90s, it was influenced by artists from all Benny Sings, people from all over the world. I would be in my dorm room just like finding artists on iTunes and just like there's something about this that draws me. So theater was a great balance for me to understand how to perform, understand people, and so I switched my major from engineering and then got into the arts and there I met so many wonderful people and you know gained a really great foundation.
Do you what did you do during that time to kind of get sharpened up even more musically? Were you recording then? Did you do any open mics? Like what or were you still kind of to yourself?
And I mean, I'm pretty much a loner.
Oh,
Like
okay.
that's my personality. But I did some really cool things. I sang background for a lot of gospel artists. I did a couple background moments with Kira Sheard and Tyler Perry's "I Can Do Bad All by Myself." When I was in college, I did the choir scene for that. I mean, so many gospel artists. Like I Dietrich
Okay.
Haddon, so many different people before really I even graduated. And I would be involved with, you know, theater, you know, so any shows we'd have, whether I could do hair, I did everything. Just want y'all to know I'm obsessed with my hair. Okay. But no, I did hair at school and, you know, I was just an artist in that I soaked in every environment I was in. I loved, you know, the diversity of talent in school and I just soaked everything up. You know, there was like, when I tell you that it was literally a God thing, like, I know it probably sounds annoying, but it was like I didn't have a blueprint. You know what? If you
Yeah.
don't get signed, what happens if you don't get this big record deal? You know, there was just this calling where I knew there was something for me to do in music, and I don't know how I was going to get there, but I just like soaked in every room I was in, humble, kept my head low, rolled my sleeves up. If it was singing background, if it was helping with hair, if it was helping with lights, I just soaked everything up that I could so that when it was time for me, as I'm still becoming, that I would
Yeah.
be as prepared as, you know, as possible.
I think that's a great point to just speak on because a lot of artists want to be the artist today, and if not today, tomorrow. You know, that's the concept of waiting. The waiting is
Yeah.
15 minutes, you know. But it really does take a process of, you know, when you're curating yourself, especially when you have an idea of who
Yeah.
you are, but you don't necessarily, but there's still some articulation that still needs to be done. You got to kind of just get that organically, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, okay, so fast
Great
forward.
questions, Cameron.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I got more now. I got more. Um,
Okay.
so when I graduated, right, I'm
Uh-huh.
like, what the heck am I about to do with a French major, French bachelor's in French? I'm like, there's nothing I can do. I'm not gonna be an interpreter. You know, I majored in French because I wanted to be fly.
Yeah.
Cause
That's so
sophomore year,
sexy. I mean, come on. French, it's
I'm
like
telling you, I'm
you
being
get
honest
everybody,
with you.
you pulling everybody in with the French major. Like,
Listen, I was cross-registered, so I was at Cosby
oh
all the
yeah.
time on Spelman's campus. Just like, hey, I'll stay another 4 years, you know, that type of thing. But when I graduated, I was like, I really experienced the panic because I knew music was what I wanted to do. But my pops was like, yo, what are you gonna do? So I ended up working in corporate America, you
Yeah.
know, and then, you know, not shortly thereafter, but within 2 years, I quit. And I just
Oh
said,
my God.
I'm out here, you know. And I think that a lot of people will say they're quitting their jobs in order to pursue something that they love, but you know, some of these occupations aren't necessarily one. You know, I would quit a job at McDonald's for anything. You know, no
Yeah. Right.
disrespect to McDonald's, but yeah, there's something better that's out there. It takes a lot to do that. So I wanted to ask you about because I know that you've seen the real world from the standpoint of actually being gainfully employed,
Yeah.
and that life can get, you know, you get used to it, you get a little comfortable, and it's a big thing when you take a leap of faith and
Yeah.
you walk away from something like that. And I know that you took one in order to go to LA for a while. Now I never made it to LA. I went to
You
Vegas.
did some research. I'm like, how would you have known that? Okay, before I went to LA. Okay.
I I tried to go to LA, but I only made it to Vegas, and Vegas just did me so wrong. I came back to Atlanta so fast. But I know that LA is a popular destination for people, right? LA or New York, they think I gotta move there. You know, if you're a
Yeah.
country music artist, I'm gonna move to Nashville or whatever the case
Nashville,
may be.
right.
But there isn't necessarily a plan. There are a lot more people who move out there than people who move out there with a plan. And I wanted to find out your take on moving to LA, and what is it, you know, what you may have learned from your time that you spent out there, and how you would recommend someone that's an aspiring artist maybe even attempt to do something like that. I've never done it, so I'm curious.
Ah, I'd say nowadays, like, because technology is what it is, you can create from wherever you are. You know what I mean? Like, record deals coming to like rescue you are, they can happen, but I would argue, and I can only speak from my experience, that there it's probably less likely to happen nowadays than it was, like, would have in the early 2000s or even the 90s. So I would just say, if you're an artist, create.
Hmm.
If you're an artist, create art. you know Location helps, but it can also not. So I am not a big advocate of, like, this is it. I'm an advocate of a person doing what they're led to do. For me, I was in DC after college. I was going to work for Homeland Security. I was in the, process of interviews and all the, it's the federal government. So, and it just didn't work out for me. Like, things just didn't work out outside of music.
Yeah.
I did what I was supposed to do. I got the degree. I was going to work for the federal government. I had the great grades. I did, I was on Capitol Hill grinding and trying to build relationships, you know what I'm saying? But it didn't work out for me. And, so I saved up some money and I said, well, DC isn't working out. And I'm just going to go out to LA. And I, connected with some mentors of mine and just spent some time there, really taking things in, learning a lot. And then I came back to Atlanta, where it financially made sense for me, where I could grow. And that's my particular experience.
Yeah.
And again, like that was, several years ago. So I'd even argue that nowadays it's like, if, just create, believe, and it will manifest. And it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter, what you do or don't have. If you're called to something and if it's in you, just do it, and build your audience, build your fan base, believe in yourself, and have some money in your pocket if you're going to, cross the waters and the seas, like make sure you can hold your own so that you're not like so vulnerable out there. And that's something I was always aware of. I'm a young woman, I'm cute, you out here, have your little some in your pocket. Don't be too proud to work, don't be too proud to get a job and to humble yourself and to build. And that's what I've always, practiced. And as things flow, they flow. As opportunities come my way, they come my way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it's so interesting, because living in Atlanta and playing the guitar alone used to make people say, you need to move to LA, like Atlanta won't get you. And I can't say that Atlanta as an industry has proven to be as progressive as I would have thought it would be.
No.
So that's always been a cloud that's been over my head. Like, man, would this all not be as difficult if you were just, so it's like, from that perspective, I wanted to know, sometimes you get opportunities to do shows and they're the next day or something like that. And it's an interesting perspective. Let me ask you about songwriting. When it comes to songwriting, I've listened to your catalog. All right. And, you know, people write, so a lot of people say I'm a writer, and that's no diss to anybody that's out there. Writing poems is a great way to start, but there is a refinement process that goes on when you start learning about really writing songs and what it is that makes people remember songs and things like that. So what for you, because you have a great command of melody, I think the melodies are memorable. The melodies are popular. They sound like a lot of people would listen to it. So how did you kind of meld the writing that you were already doing with the understanding of the music and melody and everything to become a great songwriter like you are?
Thank you. Feel. It is, one, I have an amazing producer today. I'm with Glam Pop Records. Terrence Brown is a genius. He's an amazing writer and producer. So I would say this of late, this season has been great in that our collaborating has like made, I think, some of the greatest songs of all time. I'm just saying. But it's being authentic. You know what I mean? Like, how does heartbreak make me feel? What does, being in love feel like for me? What does getting loose and having fun feel like for me? And, I love Michael Jackson. I love, Blondie, Debbie Harry. I love Steve Perry. I love Stevie Wonder. And, I want everyone to be able to sing along. You know what I mean? We're talented. We can, do the runs and all the fun stuff. And I love it. And I think it's important to showcase. But at the end of the day, I want Joe Blow and Mary Sue and Keisha, to be in their car and be able to sing along. So it's, I think of a lot of those things when I'm writing songs, like how simple can it cut across?
Yeah.
In the least amount of words, you know what I mean? And that it would make it universal. If I have to talk too much, then what am I saying?
Yeah, for sure. What's been the key to the collaboration between you and T Brown? Shout out to T Brown. Amazing. My bro. But it's like, do you come in and you're like, you know what? I'm mad. So we going, you know what I mean? How do you articulate how you feel, or how does that creative process get its start? I know it changes, it varies, but can you give me, maybe some ways, or are you the type of person to say, hey, I'm feeling really whatever, how does this sound? Or do you come in with, an idea, like dope fiend, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, man, like I Got the Moves, for example, that song, the whole song came to me in like 5 minutes. I'm just sitting there like, I've been so robotic. And it just, I don't know. Some songs, like I said, they come from God, and
Yeah,
they just
they do.
fall on me. There are times I have like a melody that just won't leave my head, and I'll dig deeper and say, where is it coming from? And like, what am I feeling today? And then there are times where it just might be a word. There are times, Terrence has an entire song, and he's like, man, this just came to me. So like you said, it varies on like how we work and create. But yeah, again, it goes back to just being authentic, being connected, being in tune, learning your audience, and committing to your voice, like
Yeah,
how you express yourself through music, and so I commit to that.
yeah. I think one of the first times I ever saw you without seeing you was watching one of many Janelle Monet performances, and I remember watching everybody and just being like, man, they look like they just are having the best time. Um, and I couldn't imagine, you were speaking about authenticity, and she's someone that I look at as being an authentic soul, authentic person, authentic artist. But I wanted to, ask you what you may have gleaned from that experience, both from a performance standpoint, right? But that's kind of obvious. But
Yeah.
what else? Because I know you've toured, I know you've seen some of the music industry from the side that we don't normally see as
Oh yeah.
consumers and audience members. So are there any of those things also that you may have learned from being out there with her?
Yeah, I mean, Janelle I was a fan of hers before I sang with her. And so I think it's really awesome that I just thought she had such a distinct style. There was this uniqueness about her voice that I thought like stood out. I heard her on Idlewild, and then um, I eventually heard Peachtree Blues, and I went to Spelman. So again, I remember hearing her name like performing in dorms and stuff like that, and how unique and wacky in the highest regard she was. And so, one, it was like an honor to be able to perform with her. And, watching a brown girl, be wild and free and crazy on stage and wear one fucking outfit, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
and paint, it was what was in, I think, everyone on the stage, all the artists on stage with her. We were the unicorn in our own way. And we all got together and were blessed with the opportunity to tour with her. And, we built relationships. We understood, the big stage, um, um, the discipline that it, requires of you to, no one can just fill in for me. I
Yeah,
can't get sick like that. You know what I mean? I got dance moves and melodies and stuff, so I've got to stay on point so that I can be the best support to the head woman in charge. So it was amazing. I mean, so many years of touring. I have so many stories, but mostly nothing but so much love for her, uh, um, and admiration, and um, faith, because she did it. I know that we can, and I know that I can. And so just being committed to that, appreciating the opportunity to serve and
yeah,
to grow and learn. And yeah, I think she's like one of the greatest artists of all time.
yeah. Serving is so, like, you know, when people serve, it just
Yeah.
gives you that foundation to be
Oh
able to
yeah.
be up
Oh,
front.
oh
But
yeah.
I think it's lost on a lot of artists because a lot
Yeah.
of artists can create inside the room and it can
Yeah.
go out to the world. So, you skip like 4 or 5
Yeah.
very important steps, you
Yeah.
know?
Serving, man. Like, rolling those sleeves up and shutting up and
Mm,
doing and creating and watching. There's nothing that can replace the process. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't
So
know
let's.
what's going on with my phone that it like
I'm like, is there a fly that keeps coming back? And you
no,
trying to?
it said it goes dark on me, so I have to keep like
Oh,
tapping it. It's never done that before, but
it's not going dark on. It's not going dark on us. Just
oh,
so you
okay.
know. But
Okay.
yes, I do understand. Like seeing the screen go dark would
Yeah, it's
bother me
weird.
too. Yeah. So let me ask you this: when it comes to your creations, your projects, the perfect EP. Um,
Wow.
yeah, talk to me about talk to me about that process from a creative standpoint. Like you knew it was time, I'm sure, to create things. You know, ideas come, you let it flow, but at some point you say, "I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to do my own thing." Once you decided, or once you got to that point, sonically, you were like, "What?"
Yeah. Um, I was already doing my thing before I was a background singer. So
Got you.
I mean, my story is, I can't wait to share my story. But I always wrote music, even on the road. Of course, you kind of have those seasons of like you're touring so much as a background vocalist or artist, and you know you need to get lost in whatever the artistry is of your job, you know. But I wrote Perfect, and I was like, hey, Terrence, I just want you to hear the song I wrote. My dad was ill at the time. He was a huge fan of mine, and he was always like, yo, you need to put out your own music. You've been writing since you were 8, you know, like he would come to the shows and be like, yes, it was amazing. When are you gonna do your own music? You know?
Love it.
And so it was something he was at that time he was dying. And I was like, you know what, let me just start writing and just sing Dear Dream. You know, things would just come to me. And I let Terrence hear it, and he was like, this shit is amazing. You know, and so he was like, give me a second, you know, and then he did all the music for Perfect. And Perfect, the song Perfect, was the beginning of the Perfect EP, you know.
Got you.
So yeah, it was like a lot happening. I was losing a parent who was, you know, my best friend, but he was also my biggest advocate. And so while I was suffering a loss, I was gaining a set of confidence and wings to put what I had always been working on in the forefront unapologetically. Yeah, so
Dope.
yeah.
Dope. Tell me, how would you say you've grown as a creative, as an artist, as a songwriter, however this strikes you? How would you say you've grown through your releases of late? Let's start with the Perfect EP.
Okay.
Since the Perfect EP, Please Like Me, It's Just Art. How would you say, if if at all, you know, I'm not forcing you to come up with something, but how would you say you've grown as it relates to your artistry throughout the course of those releases?
Mm, I'm sorry to scream.
No, it's all good.
Um, like I said, I wasn't like special growing up. You know what I mean? So meaning I was special, but I didn't get like special treatment with my
Got
gift.
you.
And so I was always just very humble, and I still am, you know, just very like, you know, I may not, you know, at the very beginning I was really, really meek and just like, well, I got this song perfect and lost. And Terrence was like, but you're a beast, you know? And so I would say the growth has been just confidence, you know, like this is who I am, you know, like I have a gift, and I'm still growing in that gift, but it's great, you know,
Yeah.
and opening up and taking off the baggage and taking off the fear and taking off like, you know, looking anywhere else but within, you know, and I'm a free woman, and I have faith, and I have, you know, talent. I have, you know, got through Spelman and got through some crazy things in life, and you just become more confident in sharing that like anointing in a sense, you know, like
Yeah.
the wear and tear and the beauty that comes out of living. And so that's the growth for me. Musically, everything musically has always been within. I have an amazing producer, and it just gets, I just get more like, you know, in my bag.
Yes.
But yeah, I would say just more confidence and more to say. And yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah. What? So let me ask you. We live in a world where definition and classification, is the order of the day for a lot of different walks of life, including music.
Yeah.
Genre is. So who do you sound like, or what genre is it, or if you could compare your, it's like, if I was living my life to be somebody else, then I would, like it's
Yeah.
nobody is doing that. But um, I wanted to ask you about the pop genre. There's
Yeah.
always a debate about pop, what pop is, uh, who should be, who is pop and who isn't pop or whatever. What are your thoughts about genre in general and pop as it relates to what it is you do? Because I feel like what you do is pop. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
pop.
It is pop, but I have brown skin, so I think it's one of those things that it's hard for us to conceptualize without a big stamp from like a big label or a big person, because you know black artists don't have the luxury of being in different genres. Most of the time, we're like forced in R&B, even if my song sounds like a Taylor Swift song, and she can be a pop artist and she can be R&B if she wants. No shade to Taylor Swift. I'm just using her as an example.
Yeah.
But yeah, I write songs that everyone, that could be in line with anything that is, popular or mainstream, or, everyone can get with it. I have fans that cross the, seas and color lines, and it confirms that
Yeah.
it's not just rhythm and blues. It's not just hip hop. I'm black and I have soul, and that also comes through my records. And I come from the church and all that stuff. But I also like Robin, and I love disco, and I love artists in Amsterdam, and I love artists in London. I love artists in Sweden, and I will do all of that, and I will
Yes.
create from all of those influences. And yeah, so I definitely have some R&B, I have some jazz, I have some whatever, and I'm a pop artist.
Yes. I love it. Do
Mm-hmm.
you I was gonna ask you about glam pop in general. Um can you just give me, I want to make sure I have the exact understanding of glam pop, um, how it got started and the kind of the goal, I guess.
Um, that's more of a T Brown question.
Oh,
That
okay, got you.
in that if I were to argue the case, I'd say Terrence had a band named Jazz Specs years ago, and he was able to cultivate an audience and a fan base at 19 in college with other, four other talented individuals. And, that's label work to me. That's,
Right.
you know what I
Sure.
mean? So to me, I think, for him, it started years ago, you know,
Got you.
and now he understands that he had a label and he was acting and creating that way. But, now like, we're fun, we're happy, we're colorful, and we don't want to be confined. And so when I think of glam, I think of beauty, I think of the runway, I think of being beat and just being free, and so that's us, you know what I'm saying? And pop in the short way of like popular, like we're gonna write songs that everyone can jam to,
Yeah.
and music that transcends genres and age groups and sounds, and we're going to use different sounds and all that. So as of today, it's the melting pot. We're artists of color who are reaching the mainstream, and we're glamorous.
Yes. Uh, when you're creating and you're creating one of your projects, is there a point in time where you're like, okay, it's done? Or how do you know when is that point?
Ooh, I just know it's like my gut. It's
Yeah.
like, it's like girl, like You've done enough ad-libs, sis. Like, you have, you know, sped it up and slowed it down. You've gotten a couple masters, you know, like, it's living, it's breathing, it has a pulse. And yeah, that's when, you know, I mean, Terrence like pulls the final plug, you know.
Yeah,
But
like,
but we
yo,
know when it's like, this is a project, like, it feels good, the story is clear, and I've gotten things out that I needed to get out. And yeah, it feels right. It's like a gut thing.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
What
I
about you? Like, how do you like, what's your vibe when you know something's done?
I just finished the project maybe like 2 days ago,
Congrats.
and um, what I thought it was gonna be before I started versus what it is now. I'm like, yo, but like you said, you just know it's a gut thing, speed it up, slow it. It's like, bro, you can't
Yes.
do another take of this particular woo woo. There's no
No.
way you can do it any different. It's over with. So yeah, it's a tough one. I like asking the tough questions, not
Yeah.
answering them. But yes, it's not easy. So I don't envy anybody who has to make the decision. But I
Yeah.
know the people that we want to play pivotal
Yeah.
roles in the decision making process of what it is that we're doing, because we're the ones who have to deliver it. We're the
Yeah.
ones who are going to be given the feedback directly first.
Yes.
Nobody's going to come and look for your manager. They're
No.
like, hey, why'd you choose that song? It's
No.
like, hey, they're gonna be like, hey, I like it when you when you sing this song and not this song. I'm like, all right, well, what do you want me to do about it? So I definitely understand. From a stylistic perspective, do you feel like style wise you have been influenced by the same people that have influenced you musically, or is it a different whole group of influences? I'm sure there are some, but do they overlap at all?
Mm, yeah. I mean, um, yeah. I'd say I love the '80s. I always wish I was like a grown up in the '80s.
Same.
I'm obsessed with my hair, so I'm just like an '80s rock star who was like so vain about their hair. So that's me. Um, and I like to be sexy and I like to be hot and I like to be, beat physically. I feel like that was that era,
Yeah,
but
it
it's
was.
me, naturally. I ran track, I played soccer. Um, so just being healthy, being fly, being free, um, being sexy, that's like so like the '80s era. And
Yeah.
so yeah, like Debbie Harry and like people who are just like cool, like who doesn't want to be cool?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be cool. That's what it is being an artist. And so it's like finding what works for me, and of course being influenced by who I'm influenced by, and creating my own style around their blueprint. The blueprint of things that just really built Ash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember going to the premiere of It's Just Art, the short film.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it
Thank
was
you for coming.
no
Sorry,
problem.
everybody, for tapping my phone. It really goes like black, so I don't know what's going on. So sorry, Cameron, if I'm messing up the flow, but
No, it's all good. I keep thinking you're giving me a high
adding
five or
a
something. um, but I was gonna ask, what was like? I really thought it was dope that you created something visually that was a representation of who you were, but at the same time it connected records and everything like that. And we're such a visual like people right now, like
yeah.
everything we got to see it. So how did that process come together from the nuts and bolts standpoint? Was it all separate visual ideas that you threw together, or did you come to the table like, I'm going to create this whole thing and
So, no, initially it wasn't like, let's do a short film. I shot the video for Easy in Savannah. Shout out to Jeff Getner, who is like so amazing. He's in Savannah and I love Savannah. So artistic. And once we shot that and we were like editing it, we're like, dude, I'm indie. I would love to go on tour again. And, but if I don't go on tour right away, what is the way to bring the show to my listeners and other artists, and that is what birthed the whole idea of like doing a short film. And so I would just like, okay, well, let's shoot a video for Dope Fiend. And I worked with Victor Jackson, who's so brilliant and amazing. And he worked on some choreo and brought some amazing dancers with him for that. And Fonte shot it. Shout out to him. And I got the moves. And just little by little, once I did Easy, we knew that I wanted to compose something like a film. And we were organic about what songs we chose and what felt right. And we shot those, records and yeah, and put out the film. And it was all about like, hey, if you don't see me, because I'm like, an indie artist who's, continually trying to grow and get on the road and get back out to you, just sit with this until I see you again,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a live show on your phone and you can watch me anytime you want.
Yes. Please watch it. I just saw recently about your should I call it a duet with Greg?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Duet.
All right. I just recently saw about your duet with Greg Cox. Think it's dope. I like the artwork, how the artwork still like focuses on each one of you.
Thank you.
I think they juxtapose with each other very well.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you how that collaboration came about.
Oh, wow. I've been a fan of his, and I'm kind of in a cocoon, but I kind of can see like things everyone's working on, and I'm always like, oh, rooting other artists. And so, no, but he reached out to me and, was like so kind, was like, I'm a fan, I love your music, I'm working on a record, and, I would love to do a collab with you. And I'm always like, oh, because I want to make sure it works, so I get anxiety, like, and I heard it, I listened to it, and it was fucking phenomenal. You know what I mean? And so I got the record and I wrote my verse and I wrote the bridge and I sent it back to him and I was like, oh yeah, it took me a little second, but this is what I have. And he's like, I love it, oh my God, and so, and he's brilliant, amazing, and he gave me something tangible to work with, because I work with T Brown, so, I'm like,
Yeah.
What am I getting? No, but it was brilliant, a brilliant song, and it became even more brilliant, and that was it. That process was amazing, and we're still working. Of course, the record's new, so we're still doing things and have stuff planned. But when I tell you, it's like a puzzle pieces that came together. He's amazing. He's a hard worker like me. He has vision, and he understands that this is business.
Yeah.
Where do we want this record to go is how I work. It's like, you don't want to be too collabby where you don't have vision for it. Like, how far do we want this to go, and how much time we're going to invest and put into this, and how we're going to push it out. And he's like, was all about it, and it's doing its thing. It's doing its thing.
Shout out to Greg Cox. Make sure y'all stream All Alone. I've been streaming it over the last 24 to 48, and it's been worth my stream.
Everybody, please.
So let's talk about now, with everything going on. This is obviously been a trying year. Everybody has their interpretations of why. I just look at it like, look, in order for things to get better, in most situations, there is a period of discomfort. Yeah. It just is what it is. Yeah. And it's hit us very hard. Like a lot of the major label artists, they've made their statements, but there's still indie artists are looking like, okay, bro, like, but still, it's hit us in the same way, but a little worse, I feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's less like for a musician who's playing gigs every week.
Yeah. Yes.
It becomes like disastrous. So definitely with all that, the creative process can be lost in the midst of worrying about day to day. So you obviously have been able to be creative during this process.
Yeah.
So what else have you been working on that we might not know about, that maybe, I'm not saying tell me all your business and nothing like that, but there are people out there that want to know, okay, we've got something to chew on to keep ourselves occupied. We're all alone. What
Yeah.
else can we look forward to?
Um, Look forward to watching It's Just Art, a short film. If you haven't seen it, go on YouTube and check that out. It's composed of so many videos. I have older videos that many of you may not have seen, so check those out. Yeah, I am working. I'm always working on stuff. I've been inspired, like I said at the very beginning, like guys, if you have vision and you have a goal and you know that something is for you, it's gonna happen.
Mhm.
And this quarantine time has been really great because I think it's rewiring many of us, and it's giving us downtime to, like I said earlier, what are you doing this for? If there's purpose behind it, then things will manifest,
Yeah.
right? And if it's coming from a good place, if it's coming from like a gut place, no matter what's going on around me, it's gonna happen for me, right? So ask yourself those questions. Don't be nervous. Create when you get the genius and it comes to you, and if not, if it means just like sitting still and reconnecting with your family and reconnecting with yourself, like just flow. Like don't try to scramble. Don't look left and right at who's doing what and how they're being like led because it's their thing. Just like, find yourself in this season when you can, when you're finally still enough
Yeah.
to hear. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm working on a lot of stuff. I'm excited to share it when it's time.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
until then, there's so much for you to listen to, EPs and albums and learn the lyrics. I'm just kidding. Dude,
Yeah.
take what I have already and let me know you're listening and reach out and connect with me. This is a good time for that.
Yes, it is. It
And then
is.
anything else in the future you will see.
Yes. I highly recommend it. Um, if you want to just be jamming from front to back, I recommend it. I've been jamming. I think I'm probably gonna play. I'm probably gonna do a guitar solo with one of these. With one of these.
Stop it.
I promise you.
Please
I
do
was.
so I can post it.
Yes, I'm gonna go. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Isn't that so funny how when people make guitar sounds with their mouth, it sounds nuts. They're like, that sounds like a car
That does
stopping,
not sound
bro.
like a guitar. But you get an A for effort. Great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yes.
I definitely would love to write some records with you and with T Brown.
Yes.
I feel like we would be able to create some great records for whomever.
Yes.
I'm saying T Brown. I just see you with the fireballs now. Don't act like you didn't hear me. All right. I'm telling you, some smashes. But
Yes.
aside from that,
Yes.
uh,
Our
I
pleasure.
really
Keep
I
us
really
posted.
do appreciate you coming on. I know you kind of encourage the fans to do whatever. I'm gonna second the motion and say please check out everything.
Yeah.
Everything, all of it.
Yeah.
Vibe to it. I'm going to do a guitar. Listen, I can show you better than I can tell you.
Just show
But
me.
I wouldn't want to do that if the music wasn't good. That's kind of what I'm getting to. So
But the music is good.
yes, yes. So because I'm telling you, it's kind of like another way of restating something I already said.
No,
So
thank you so much. No, really, I'm grateful. We're grateful at Glam Pop Records, and we're growing and super like grateful for these moments. And thank you for supporting and appreciating what we do.
yes,
Thank you so much.
no doubt, no doubt. Well, I will speak to you offline.
Yeah.
But thanks again for being so cool about doing this, being prompt, being prepared. You know, I
Spelman College. Okay, I'm just kidding.
shout out to Spelman College.
No, man, I'm grateful. Like we have time, so it's really good to connect with you, an artist I admire and who has had and does have so much success and has a voice and has a purpose. It is an honor to connect with you, my brother, and talk about what we do. Yeah, so thank you for having me.
No problem. I'm gonna grab some snippets and I'll be posting a little later. But again, thanks a lot. I'm gonna do my little wrap up and then we'll talk when we talk.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
I love you guys. I don't know how to get out of here, but
There should be an X somewhere around
top
your
right.
screen.
There we go. Hey,
Yes.
everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Everyone who's here. God bless you guys. God bless you so much. And thanks for supporting me and Glam Pop Records on Calvi Grass. And let me know, comment, whatever, how you enjoyed the interview. And thank you, Cameron. I love you. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right. Talk to you later.
Okay, later.